Hello everyone and welcome to What Culture. I'm Josh, joined as ever by Ash Millman, because today we're doing another Netflix video because they just keep releasing these stats that honestly aren't all that positive. It came out earlier this week that apparently Netflix's sort of movie library has shrank 40% over the past few years, and we're all wondering, why are Netflix seemingly ditching movies when they made their name on being a movie sort of service? You were supposed to just go on, log in, it would have everything at your fingertips and disposal. You could go and you could watch, I don't know, what's a good movie, Ash? The Last Jedi. You could go on and watch The Last Jedi if you wanted to, but now because the library is shrinking, we can't do that anymore. We're trying to figure out why. Ash, you have more information.
I do, in my notes selection. Right, so basically the cold hard facts here are that since 2014 it has dropped by 40%, and the numbers are the US Netflix library had 6,494 movies on it in 2014. In 2016 that went down to 4,335 films, and as of November 20th, 2019, we're on 3,849 titles, which is a heck of a lot of movies to be dropping.
That's a big decline. I wonder though, because when you see these stats, there could be a small sliver of hope in you thinking, well, maybe they're just cutting the fat.
Yes.
For the fat. Maybe they're just doing, quality over quantity for a change.
Maybe.
But I've been on Netflix recently, Ash, and I don't think that's the case.
No.
Because the amount of trash that is on there, the amount of stuff that I've either seen or don't want to watch or are quite old. Netflix, I think, more than other subscription services, which we'll get to, have sort of difficulty updating their movie library. With new movies, a lot of it is older stuff. And I do think that is perhaps intentional because, when it comes to older stuff, you might be more inclined to watch something you love. Like The Wolf of Wall Street is always on there. Always on the front page. And that's because people love watching The Wolf of Wall Street for whatever reason.
On.
Yeah, it's just good to put on the
Watch him
background.
blow some coke up someone's ass, fine. Good little morning watch.
Family fun for the entire gang. But I think the issue is that when it comes to Netflix, they never really announce their numbers. They announced sometimes that 40 million people watched a new film, or the new Adam Sandler film, but we don't know whether that's people watching it all the way to the end or just clicking on it. And maybe to them that's more important, the fact that you might just put something on in the background. You might just put something on that you've seen a million times and then kind of be done with it.
I feel like they use hype statistics a lot of the time, so they do the what you say, where maybe it's just clicks and there's no proof that people are watching all the way through to the end. And then with Veronica, when that came out, they were using the statistics of people who clicked off of it before the end to say it's so scary that people can't watch all the way through, when everyone else responded going, that wasn't scary, I clicked off it because it was boring.
You can't just cherry pick like that.
Yeah, they just say what it is. And Bird Box as well got all of the articles about it everywhere. It was endless coverage on Bird Box because it was one of their most hyped movies. So I think that they use news and click statistics to their advantage. So for people to go and dig out these ones and go, actually, there's an issue here, I'm waiting to see how they'll flip it. But what you assume they probably are going to do with it is say, with all these new streaming services coming out where things are being taken to, we're making more of our own content and focusing on a streamlined service that does good original things that people want to watch and are new and interesting, rather than all of our old crappy movies that nobody wants a licensing of, so we still have.
Well, that's it. I think the landscape over the past few years, maybe even over the past year, has changed so dramatically in the streaming service. At one point, Netflix was the only big name in the game and they could rely on older content. But now, with so much competition, including Disney Plus, which just launched, the focus seems to be on that homegrown content, on the Netflix originals. And at one point, it might have changed somewhat over the past few years, but at one point, the Netflix original brand sort of just was synonymous with prestige and quality and good content that you couldn't get on regular television. But now obviously that has changed. Disney Plus is going all in on their original content based on Star Wars and the Marvel Universe, and that I think is probably what's driving them all. They have spent billions, Netflix, on producing billions, which is outrageous. They cannot sustain that, but they've spent billions of dollars on their own original content that people generally watch, especially when it comes to the TV shows. Stuff like, I'm drawing a blank now, but stuff like You and Stranger Things, obviously. Stranger Things is the biggest one. That's a genuine cultural phenomenon. So they don't need sort of the superfluous movies to add to that anymore, I don't think. They are trying to distinguish themselves as a brand, as a place to come for a specific product.
I would disagree I would disagree with that, Josh Brown, because I think that them pushing their movie side of it a lot more with trying to make this whole new fresh brand with cinema releases and then having their own things that they're pumping money into, like the Michael Bay film that's coming out and all that sort of thing. I think that the way they're approaching movies is just a lot more homegrown, and Netflix are going to transform into more of a studio than anything else on that side of things. But I think TV is definitely what people go to the streaming service for. But
Yes.
I think they want to be known as like this harbinger of original content is where they are shifting to. They're very clever because they set up this whole streaming phenomenon, got
Yeah.
everyone on board, sold off all of their licenses, and then have gone, hey, but look what we make now. We've got all this money, baby.
Right.
So,
I'm not saying that Netflix is the MySpace of the streaming industry, right? But just because they were first and they paved the way for everyone else doesn't mean they kind of, have the right to stick around. They might have been there first and introduced everyone to it. But now I genuinely think that Netflix is sort of going through a bit of an identity crisis. Because you
Netflix
mentioned
is not
there-
MySpace, Tom. Like,
Netflix is MySpace Tom confirmed, is all I'm saying. Hashtag Netflix is MySpace Tom. I do think they're going through something of an identity crisis because, like you said, when it comes to the movies, there's been so much sort of, press about The Irishman, for instance,
Yeah.
and how they've recently bought the theatre to release their movies in, the cinema sort of experience. And that seems to be kind of at odds with the actual streaming platform itself.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like they want to be known as this prestige place. They kind of want to make money off it, but they're stuck between two worlds. And that is kind of interesting to see play out, but I wonder if that's sustainable in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It probably isn't, but they're going to have to pick one way and go with it. There is an identity crisis there, but I think they do have both identities at the moment, and they will have to pick one. So I don't know. I see them as a good movie house at the moment still.
Yeah.
As much as there's all the press and the hype and everything, and they're pumping all this money into it, if they can continue that and get all of the things that come with that sort of prestige, then I would be very happy for them to go that route. But they are
I
a streaming
agree, Ash.
service at heart.
They are, but go on.
Bah, bah.
You're going to throw something at me.
I was
Throw
gonna say-
some hard, cold facts.
If we're talking about original content and the comparison between TV shows and movies, then they've got all of the ones coming out this month, which is their biggest month of the year. Like December's where they start throwing out the heavy hitters and going, hi, here we are. This is all the stuff we have. So they've got new seasons of Fuller House, Lost in Space, Magic for Humans, and You coming out this month. They've got the Kevin Hart documentary on December 27th. They've got Six Underground, which I spoke about earlier, which is the Michael Bay film, which has Ryan Reynolds, which they spent $27 million on
I
getting him
didn't
in.
even know this existed until about 40 seconds ago when
Yeah.
you mentioned that
Yeah.
Netflix had Michael Bay, but yes, go on.
Yeah, that's coming out. That's about 6 billionaires who become crime-fighting vigilantes. It's the most
Excellent.
Michael Bay film ever. Michael Bay. And then The Witch is also coming out on December 20th, which we're all very, very excited for.
That is a big month.
That's a
But
big month.
I wonder, Ash, right, when it comes to sort of Netflix and their movies there, like we
Yeah.
mentioned, they've got a lot on their plate. But when it comes to the difference between movies and TV,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they're sort of relying on their TV for the subscription service itself. Because
Yeah.
we mentioned a couple of the shows before, they've got a bunch of those launching this month. I think people in general, and this might be a sweeping statement, but based on the people I know, which is about 5 people, not including everyone in this office,
Yeah.
is that people just love the comfort of television and
Yes.
rewatching shows that they love and finding new shows that they can binge in their house. And I think it's telling that Netflix's biggest successes in terms of audience figures have all been TV shows
Yeah.
mostly, because I think it's a sense of comfort that you get because you don't have to, go through a bunch of different movies. You don't have to figure out, have I got time to watch 3.5 hours of The Irishman tonight?
No,
Because the
nobody
answer
does.
is always no.
No.
But when it comes to television, people are just more inclined to rewatch that season of It's Always Sunny or rewatch The Office for the 100th time because
Yeah.
it is comforting. And if Netflix have that, I do think they might always be in business.
They do. The problem is that all of these new ones opening up and taking that away because they have to establish themselves as the original content creator of movies and TV shows. Otherwise, everyone's going to just take all the things from them, like Disney Plus coming out and the Hulu, the HBO, all these Amazon, everything coming along and being like, right, well, we're having this back. This was our property originally, and we want to make money off it now. We've seen you do it. Now we want to do it. And I agree that TV shows are how they're going to continue with streaming. If they want to be a streaming service, TV shows is how they go about it. Like I always put on It's Always Sunny or like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or like even The Good Place or whatever, just anything like trashy on in the background.
Trashy? The Good Place?
Yeah. Whilst I'm running
My
around the
heart.
house, do my cleaning. So it's true, that's what you automatically go for. Their movie library originally was what I went to Netflix for because I wanted to be able to pick through everything. And have all of this at my fingertips, as you
Yep.
said at the beginning. But yeah, TV is where it has grown into. And I think, piece of paper again.
I'm going to get a paper cut one day.
The figures.
It's going to hurt.
It is. It is. The figures do reflect that as well, because as much as their movies have gone down, their movie library's gone down, their TV library has gone up. So it was 1,609 in 2014, and then 1,197 in 2016, and up to 1,784 this year. So I think that does reflect your point really well, that if they want to be a streaming service, they have to do the TV shows. If they want to be the big movie-making producers, they're going to have to find a way of keeping that money coming to have that as their main event, because they can't spend 27 million on Ryan Reynolds alone and carry on doing what they're doing in a sustainable way.
Well, that's perhaps why they can have their cake and eat it too. Perhaps they have sort of the television shows, they increase the number that they have, so people are coming in and they're watching and they're rewatching, because even though that is only perhaps a slight increase of a few hundred extra TV shows over a couple of years, you have to take into account that that's way more hours of you know, content than just adding 1,000 new films, because you have not only people rewatching, but you have, you know, hundreds of episodes in some cases if you get like a sitcom or whatever. And that is perhaps integral to the entire business model. You have this television that stays on the streaming service like it always has, and then you get people in on that ground level, and that allows you to produce these, you know, grand Ryan Reynolds starring blockbusters,
Ryan Reynolds, baby,
150 million Martin Scorsese movies that get you another audience and get you that prestige. And I know prestige doesn't always translate to money, but prestige translates to headlines, and that keeps you in the press, that keeps people talking about your brand, which is ultimately will make money in the long run. So perhaps I'm giving them, you know, not enough credit. Perhaps they aren't MySpace, perhaps they're like Napster or some.
That's even worse example. They're going right down the road. To be fair, what we also have to recognise within this whole bubble of TV shows versus movies versus things changing and what they want to be seen as, their domestic stock has gone down. Like they have lost money. Let me get my little paper again. For the first time in 8 years, they have lost paid subscribers domestically this year because their money revenue went down from what they expected. So obviously people are responding with their wallets to the competition and that sort of thing as well. So you've got to take that into account as to how they're going to fix that and if they can fix that.
Honestly, I don't think they can, and I don't think that's anything they can have control over. The competition now is just so large. I think at one point it was either, you know, do you have Netflix or do you have Amazon Prime? But now it's not that binary anymore. It's not that black and white. You have a bunch of different options, and I think a lot of people have multiple subscriptions, but because they have multiplied so rapidly, Netflix might not come into that anymore. People might have Amazon Prime and Disney Plus, or HBO Max and Disney Plus. Disney Plus seems to be the one that's keeping people around because it has the original content, and it also has The Simpsons. So I have no idea if Netflix will be able to bounce back, but I do think, you know, cutting their movie library isn't inherently a bad thing. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think of Netflix? Do you even have a subscription service anymore, or have you jumped ship? And while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every day. Even if you don't know, I've been Josh. You can find me on Twitter at Josh Broom with 2 O's. This has been Ash. You can find her on Twitter
at Ash Millman.
Very good, and we'll see you soon. Bye.